Good morning, good afternoon. How you guys doing? Welcome to the PKT Community Roundtable. We got a real special day today, but first I'll introduce everybody. My name's Jeremy Berger. We got Jesse Berger, Josh Berger, we got James Haft, and Caleb James Delisle. Welcome, everybody.
Hey.
How's it going?
So,
Exciting day.
Yeah, super
I
exciting.
thought you guys were all the same person. I've never seen you at the same time.
Yeah, there are three of us. And I apologize in advance. I'm coming down, recovering from a bit of a cold, so my voice is a bit raspy. But yeah, no, today's an exciting day. We have a really big announcement for the Packet project, and I think we should just jump right into it. Jess, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. It's a very exciting day. You know, we've been building for so many years, so sometimes from the standpoint of the people who work on this project every day, it's hard to tell the forest from the trees. But it was very clear as Caleb came out of the woodworks with this next invention that this was going to be a really, really special part of the story. And I think it really actually did a lot for helping clarify what the Packet network is and how people can use it. And then maybe even more importantly, or equally as important, is building and adding utility to the network. So like actually something viable that you can do with Packet that has real world implications. Caleb, do you want to talk a little bit about what Packet DNS is?
Yeah, so there have been a lot of blockchain-based DNS systems over the years, and I mean it's kind of since Namecoin, which was the first fork of Bitcoin in 2011, it was kind of an obvious thing that once you invent a blockchain, why not put names on it? But all of these systems have kind of the same problem, which is that you can't use that name service without either installing software or configuring a special name server that most people are just not going to do. And that's kept those projects kind of in a corner. What we did was we have people stake infrastructure as part of the way that they yield Packet. And one of those pieces of infrastructure is domain names registered with the regular public registrars, and they stake them by setting the name servers to our name servers. And what that means is that you've got like 56 domain names like packet.live, packet.wiki, packet.gg, all these different names with pkt something. And when you register a Packet domain in the blockchain, which is practically free and you can have it for as long as you want with no ongoing fees, that name you get yourname.packet.live, yourname.packet.wiki, yourname.packet.gg, or whatever. All of them. You get all of those. And so that creates a lot of robustness because all of those names point to your site. So it makes it very difficult to take down that site just by, the way it works is unfortunately there's some government officials who think they're God just make a phone call to the registrars and your site goes down. And we with this system will slow that down a little bit because they're not just going to be able to call one registrar, because there's going to be 56 registrars spread across different countries, spread across different jurisdictions. So we have a bit of the advantages of blockchain DNS, very robust, very strong. And then we also have a bit of the advantages of a centralized ICANN DNS, which is that everybody can just access a domain. So right now you could type in cjd.pkt.wiki and that's going to go to my site, which my site is just a dumb little page with a whole bunch of links that link to itself on every top level domain that it's available. So that's one site. There's a couple more. And I think that now, because today registrations are open to the public, I think we're soon to have quite a few more.
Yeah, indeed. I realize that we have a special guest here and I failed to make the introduction. So I want to take a small detour and introduce an esteemed community member who's been here since essentially the beginning. Yeah, thank you for joining us today, James, Mr. James Haft.
It's my pleasure, and I think Caleb's the esteemed guest, by the way. So I'm just a rider on the train.
Indeed. Yeah, he's definitely the
Yeah.
captain of this train. So yeah, Josh, just want to give a quick background. Obviously, wonderful to have James. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, James Haft is been an advisor and a dear friend and OG crypto guy. Wasn't the first, but ran a publicly traded company that was basically one of the biggest DePIN projects in the space. Definitely running some of the biggest infrastructure for the biggest DePIN projects, and an innovator and just a cool dude, holding down in the Puerto Rico side of the world is where I met him, and really happy to have you here, and also have your mind working on Packet on how we can really amplify our mission and what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think we're at the community building phase, right? And without community, none of these technologies actually matter. So I think that it's you guys have done an amazing job of staying with it over the last couple of years, and pivoting and moving into where the current mainstream is in terms of being on base, and restyling the business. And the question now, I think, is how do we get real world activity to start happening on the network? I think that's the next big phase for us.
Yeah, and that's what gets me really excited about this announcement, is just being able to build here. And I think what's really exciting about Packet is most projects are very pigeonholed to whatever blockchain they're building on. And that ecosystem that they build on is like, that's where your ecosystem is. It's like, if you're the Cardano team, then you're in the Cardano ecosystem and you're doing Cardano stuff. But the Packet network is so versatile since it's a network and it's not just pigeonholed to a blockchain, even though we are using the base blockchain as the incentive mechanism to run the network. That becomes really exciting because it opens up this door for so many different projects and so much collaboration. And when we talk about real utility, that's what's really exciting about this domain launch, because now people can actually build websites. Now you can actually have, the Cardano site in Packet. You can have the Avalanche site in Packet. You can have all these different crypto, ecosystems, but they can all build within this ecosystem as well. And that gets me really excited.
Well, I think there's a bigger issue going on, and that is, as long as we're talking about Cardano or talking about Base, et cetera, we're not going to get to mass adoption, right?
Sure.
The whole point is that the way that the technology works has to be abstracted away from the activity of the actual users. Nobody cares how your car works. Nobody cares how your phone works. Nobody cares how your telephone works. What I care with my business is that I can communicate, I can broadcast, communicate, receive back information, and create an economy, right? And I don't really care if it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Near, right? It doesn't matter to me. And as long as we're forcing the users to actually understand that, then we're actually defining our community, our potential community, as a relatively small group of people, right? And so the really important thing is going to be to when we can start to have apps and third parties creating abilities for me just to upload my video and then make some choices on a dashboard and know that who it's being distributed to, how it's being monetized, and how I'm able to leverage, my content, right, and protect my content, but without having to understand the technology. That's the point where we can get to mass adoption.
Yeah, it's really, really true. And I think that was one of the, pieces of this story that helped quite a bit. Obviously, when you're interacting with blockchain technology, the wallet becomes, fundamental to the consumer or the user's connection to the project. So, there is that need to kind of interact with a wallet, when you're doing things with blockchain. But to your point, if you can abstract it away from Bitcoin, Ethereum, this or that, and it's just a task that you take, just like interacting with like the GoDaddy backend. Like, I don't consider myself a computer programmer, but if I want a website, I got to go into this, GoDaddy backend, I'm buying a domain and I'm figuring out how to connect my website to it. Josh just launched a website, and I believe you did it on Canva, and just pointed the DNS. Canva makes it really, really easy,
Right.
essentially to create a page, just quick design, throw it together. And then there's just a couple buttons that you got to press, and all of a sudden that page goes live. And if you want to go check out, josh.pkt. any of the 56 or 57 top level domains in the Packet network, for simplicity, you could just type in josh.pkt.live. You'll see his website, and that website is accessible around the world with no additional software required. So that
actually, just to correct you, Canva actually makes you pick the top level domain. So you can actually only access it through josh.pkt.my. But what is actually interesting, and what Jesse and I were just talking about, is now, like for me, for instance, I have lots of different businesses and I do lots of things. So having a domain that resolves based on whatever my business is, like I'm in the film business, so I could have josh.pkt.tv. I could have, for my, e-commerce stuff, I can, have another domain, and they all kind of point to the same website. And so that makes it very versatile, where now people that do multiple different things can have their sites accessible through, multiple different avenues.
Right. And I think this actually, we've talked about, I don't want to talk about it here because I don't want to give away secrets to, out there, but there's actually ways to even simplify the story around the top level domains and how people access us, which I think we can accomplish, which would be even further disintermediation of the technology. I think people can, so I think there's still a road ahead for us in developing that.
Cool.
There's a number of different things that you can do. And a lot of the websites that have been on the run, having their domains taken away, have gotten really good at publishing, now you go here, now you go here. Thinking of like the LiveGen, the book library, they go after the domains of these websites. So this is just going to automate that process, where even if all you do is you go register a classical domain and then you register a Packet domain and put a forward to your classical, you're just now going to have 50 domains and they all point to your classic domain, and if you lose that classical domain, you just pick up another one and keep on going, just change it.
Right. That's going to be out there. But I think that, the thing that we really need to do, right, is figure out how third parties can start to grab our technology and weave it into their businesses, right? It's kind of the open source mantra is take my software, please take my software, right? And, I think that's really the next big growth phase for us, is when someone figures out, hey, I can simplify and decentralize by doing this. And then they have an audience of 100,000 or, God forbid, millions of people. And now they have a protected, scalable way to communicate with their audience, right? We want to be the infrastructure. We don't really want to be the idea. What we want to be is the blank canvas that other people can integrate easily, so that we can aggregate audiences of people that want to use our technology.
Yeah, I mean, but that's so easy. If you have a domain and you're worried about having problems with losing it, then it costs you like a few dollars worth of Packet to get a Packet domain and just put a redirect. Just make it redirect, bounce to your old regular domain, and if anything happens to the one you've got, you switch to another one, change the redirect, and you're still in business. So this is something that any of those sites that have problems would be able to adopt really, in a couple of hours, beginning to end, for that webmaster to have it adopted. I wouldn't even say less than an hour of work. And I'm considering, like, they don't have any Ethereum, they don't have any Packet, they need to set up a wallet. Like, they have no knowledge of crypto, and that the setting up of a wallet, like, we could even imagine like some kind of a registrar to do that on your behalf, so that you don't need to even set up the wallet. But That's just sort of roadmap items. Another use case for this, and one that I personally am using, is the ability to keep track of your devices. I have a fair number of, as a system administrator, I have a fair number of machines out there that virtual machines, real machines, a fair number of them, and I want to give them names. And this is an alternative to logging into Namecheap every time I want to update a DNS record. I can have domains for each project, and then I can, under those domains, I can put records for each VM and each machine that I'm managing. And it's not something for everyone, but for a system administrator and somebody who puts CJDNS on their machines to keep an eye on them, and to be able to reach them even if there's partial internet outage or they're behind a firewall. That's a pretty compelling narrative.
See, I barely understand you. I'm an art history major, and I love that you have that use case. But I think we need to, again, get out of the technical domain, and what we really need to do is find people that have libraries of that content that they want to share, right? And have it drag and drop, so that I don't need to understand broadcasting, and I don't need to understand tokens or wallets, right? I mean, even the wallet should be abstracted out. I founded a Web3 company before there was such a thing as Web3, and a DPIN company before there was such a thing as DPIN, right? We were Filecoin, storage, decentralized file providers, mostly in the United States. And I basically went out and got the Shoah Foundation, which is the memories of people from the Holocaust, and the archives from the Ukrainian National Archives. The kind of stuff that needs to be recorded and commemorated in a non-transmutable way, because the victors, tend to tell the stories in the world. And so, when we went to them, we didn't explain to them IPFS and decentralized file storage. I basically said, give me your data. I will pay you because the Filecoin was paying me, and I actually paid them in dollars. So they never even knew there was a Filecoin wallet out there. And I got paid by Filecoin. I split the money with the people give me the data, and they now know that there's 10 copies of their data that cannot be changed, that no matter what happens in history, no matter who tries to censor them, that these copies will be out there, and non-transmutably recorded. And so what I gave them was, the memory of their concepts in perpetuity, without ever explaining to them blockchain, without explaining to them Filecoin, without explaining to them, decentralized file storage, right? And I think that I look at Packet in a very similar way to Filecoin, in that we provide a base layer set of capabilities that people need. They don't even know they need them. What they know they need is cheap, scalable, easy to use, right? And I think that will be successful when third parties are creating solutions for people which are benefiting and faster, cheaper, more scalable because they're built on Packet, but they don't need to know about Packet at all. Right? They just need to know that they're being given a service that provides for them what they were looking for with the features that they wanted. So we need to be selling features, not selling technology.
Yeah, and
I think we're close. I think we're close.
That's where the hub becomes really exciting, and what we've been building with the Packet Hub, because there is a niche audience that is excited about this kind of the highly technical stuff, and what has been built is very novel. But I agree with you, James, that there needs to be a place for the 99.9% of everybody else that can get excited about it. And that's where the hub becomes really viable, because now it's an ecosystem where anybody, regardless of technology stack, can be discoverable. And being able to claim a domain is vital for that, because that becomes the bridge between this network and Web 2. Whether they're Web 2 or Web 3, it doesn't really matter. It's the network itself that makes this thing powerful and robust, and becomes this opportunity for any project, any platform, any business, really, any person that wants to even put up a blog can enter this ecosystem and become discoverable.
Yeah, that was
So-
my passion too, being a content creator and a filmmaker. And when I was in film school, the fantasy was always to make a movie and have it distributed by a big movie studio. And once I had achieved that goal numerous times over, I realized that it wasn't everything that you thought it was going to be, because ultimately when you make a piece of content that has a large investment behind it, the goal is not just getting distribution. That wasn't the end game that we were led on to believe was the achievement in film school. It's actually making your investors their money back. You want the film to be successful. And when you start to see the economics behind movie distribution, or content distribution for that matter, even on YouTube, you see that the lion's share, the majority of the money is going to a set of players that own the platforms. And it's incredibly disadvantageous to the content creators. It is really poorly designed for the investors. Like, they're literally the last people to get paid off, and it's ultimately a bad experience. And so when we connected with Caleb, all these years ago, and the vision of what CJDNS is as a decentralized network that allows anybody to distribute content across it, that got really excited about the potential for people to use that as a network that they can distribute content and have a direct to consumer platform, where the money can go to the people that it belongs to, rather than the money going to the platform. But when we set out to help proliferate the CJDNS network back in 2019, leading into 2020, it was a bit esoteric on how people can use it. So I love everything that, James, you're saying about abstracting away all the complexity and just focusing on how people can use these tools and the value of those tools in particular. And over the last like 18 months, the biggest part of the conversation is, okay, the network's there, but how does somebody actually physically use it? And so that's where the domain naming service, Packet DNS, really is the rubber meeting the road, because I think everybody understands what a website is. I don't think that's something you need to explain to people, that that's your shingle for doing commerce, for doing business. It's the way to reach people around the world. It's your, it's your destination, it's your storefront, or your information front, whatever that may be that you're doing. But there's some problems with the, maybe people haven't thought about these problems, but I think about it every single year that I get a renewal notice for the domains that I own. And if you own 10 domains and they're $20 to $40 a year, you're getting hit with a $200 to $400 a year charge. And there's no end in sight for those charges. You're going to be getting hit with that charge every single year in perpetuity. And so there's something really compelling about a domain naming service where you can get access to domains that are globally accessible. No one needs to install special software to access them, which there are other kind of blockchain-based DNS services out there, but you do need to use special software. So those URLs just are not accessible to the normal internet users. And the second piece of it is it's free, and we should talk a little bit about the context of free, because we had someone say the other day that, well, it's not free if you have to, create a stake. But the reality is the stake that you create is really to initiate an NFT. The NFT is to substantiate your ownership of that domain. And the money that you end up putting on that stake stays in your possession. So it's not actually a cost or expense. Like, you're not actually paying anybody for that. At a time in the future, if you choose, hey, I don't need this domain anymore, then you just unlock the stake and you can take the funds out of it, and you can just choose to sell them and reimburse yourself, so to speak. So that's really, really compelling. Enables people to, potentially expand the ownership of domains that they may be interested in having, without having to worry about the recurring renewal fees that you'll have to pay for the rest of your life. So getting down to kind of brass tacks of where the general public might find this this technology platform compelling, I think these are some real viable and, you know, salt of the earth ways that people are using these types of technologies for their traditional businesses. And I think that's, and I hope that is how we're going to gain, you know, more adoption for this technology.
So yeah, it's super exciting. So why don't you walk through what people can do to claim their domain? Like we've talked about, you know, what's being released, but how do people get involved?
Yeah, Caleb, do you want to do that, or Josh, do you want to do that?
I'm having shaky internet problems, so it'd be great if Caleb. There's a fire burning the city of Los Angeles to the ground right now, so it's been.
I was gonna say, why don't the least technical persons share their screen and register a domain? who's registered?
Yeah, you want to just go register a domain real quick?
Yeah, give me a sec. Maybe Jerry, you could explain it, and I can try and get a screen set up here. Just watch.
Well, I can explain what's happening, and you can get it set up so that you can do it. So, in order to register a domain, you have to stake some packet, and so there's a tab on the packet dashboard where you can make a stake, and that stake is where you put some packet, and it will sit there for some period of time that you specify, at least a month. Then once you've created the stake, you go to the domains tab, and okay, so first thing you need to do is you need to go to the domains tab. You need to click to create a domain in order to find out how big the stake needs to be. And then you go to the stake tab.
Hold on, Caleb,
Yeah.
hold on a sec. The first thing you need to do is you got to get some packet. That's the first order of business. You got to have a little bit of packet in your wallet in order to create a stake. So
First
the way
thing
that you
install your wallet, but we'll assume you have if you have MetaMask and you have some Ethereum, then
yes,
yeah, you can buy packet actually in the dashboard, right? You can just go to the buy sell tab in the dashboard, and you just click to enter some packet to buy, right?
Right.
So yeah, once you have, I mean, it's probably a good idea to go to the stake page first to see how much you're going to need to buy. Right now,
are you going to present, or
I'm almost there. I'm just getting logged in so I can.
Right now, there've been there's a bit of a land rush on domains because the price has just gone up to about 23,000 packet, which in dollar equivalent is about $23 or $20. So that price will fluctuate between 1,000 packet and 50,000 packet based on how many people are registering. So if there's a bunch of people registering, price goes up in order to just prevent people from land grabbing all the cool names and then locking everybody else out. So you go to the PKT DNS tab, and that will tell you what you need. And so then you'll either have to buy it, assuming you have Ethereum on the base chain, which getting your Ethereum on base is another can of worms. But with MetaMask, and also with the base wallet, you can just use a credit card to buy Ethereum on base. That's a pretty quick way to do it. Then once you have some Ethereum, you buy your, in this case, $30 worth of packet, and then you take your packet and you go create a stake. And once you create a stake, then you'll see your stake when you're okay. So,
all right. So the first thing you need to do is come here and see how much it costs to create a domain. So a little more than 22,000 packet. And you go to stake, add a stake. We'll just call this presentation one domain. Okay. Actually, we'll do 7 just to, and then we'll do 1 month, and then we'll go to next. This is locking it up.
And that's your packet. When you'll be able to unlock that later. It's set currently an auto restake, so you'll need to turn that off, and then you'll need to wait for it to mature. And once it's matured, you can just unlock it and have it back. But you can't have your domain after you've unlocked your packet. It's one or the other.
All right. So this takes a second to confirm. And
we can't see what he sees. He's seeing his wallet pop up, and he's clicking confirm.
Right. Oh, you guys can't see my wallet?
Yeah.
Okay. So now you see that I just got my domain presentation. There's how much packet there is. So then you go back over here to PKT domain, register your domain. What should we, what domain do we want to get? Should we just do I'll just do test.
No, just grab one. Grab one.
Yeah, you're about to spend 21,000 packet on it. You might as well get one you want.
Okay. Let's do
eth.pkt.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay, so then presentation one domain. And one thing that people should understand is that when you click this, you want to make sure that you're picking the right stake, because if you click something like, let's say I do stake 1 and that has 1 million packet staked, then the next time that somebody wants to create a domain, it's going to be
No, Caleb fixed that.
That's actually not true anymore.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
the beta version of this priced based on the last person's registration, but now it just fluctuates between 1 and 50 based on how many people are registering.
But the reason you don't want to do that, actually, here, click register so someone doesn't take that away from you, Jeremy.
Yeah, because you're going to lose your seat.
The reason you don't want to do that is because if you want to unstake your 1 million packet, you're going to lose your domain. And that's something you probably don't want to do. So you want to make sure that you're creating a stake that's specifically for your domain. I usually like to name it whatever the domain is. So like josh.pkt, I name the stake josh.pkt, and that makes it so I know that that stake is associated with that domain. And yeah, that's the strategy.
Yeah, it really is a good point. Yeah, and I've been doing the same thing. It also helps when you have it cataloged on your dashboard where you name the stake after the domain, and Jeremy can actually show that he can go back and make that change.
it said there was a problem.
No, it said it worked. Oh,
yeah, no, it worked. It's just going to let you try again anyway. I'll fix that.
All right. So I should get out of here.
Yeah, you can see your domain in the background there. So it did register.
Right.
And then
so
if you click manage, that's where you can insert records. So you'll be able to create like, put a record that points to your server or your hosting provider, whatever, just like if it's Namecheap, GoDaddy, whatever. That's where you do records. Yeah.
And so then when somebody wants to come to my eth.pkt, whatever website I pointed at this will be visible.
Yeah, and he just registered eth.packet, which is going to allow him to forward ENS for everybody who doesn't have ENS installed. Then people will be able to go to ens.pkt.whatever and access ENS domains through like a forwarder.
Yeah, that's super cool. So there you have it.
So I can do Namecoin and yeah.
Yeah, and so then here's my stake, and it's going to auto restake every month. And so now I have this domain, and it only cost me 22,000 packet, which is, amazing.
Fully refundable.
Yeah,
also,
and then
it says the domain that's connected to the stake there, right in the middle. It says eth.pkt, so you can keep track of what stake is what domain right from your stake tab.
Yeah, that's great. And so then the cool thing is that if let's just say, I'm 3 months down the line, I say, hey, I don't want this anymore. And I close the stake. I just get the packet back. So that's where the free comes in. It's like, yeah, you have to put up some packet in order to get it, but you're not giving it to anybody. You're just locking it up in a lockbox, which is great.
So I logged on, and this must be a recent change to the website because it's different than I looked from last time I looked at it. And so now I can basically create my own website, right? My own URL in the network. Do I have to? Is that taking from the staking page inside of the website? So would I create, are the names the same from the staking page to the Packet DNS page?
No, you can choose the name of your stake or no name based on, it's just for you, for your
Right.
bookkeeping. And then when you go to the PKT DNS page, you choose the domain that you want to own.
Okay, but the 35,000 PKT that's being staked, is that being drawn from a discrete stake, that I created on the staking page, or is that just where's that 35,000 coming from?
When you register your domain on the Packet DNS page,
Right.
you're going to select from a drop-down menu which stake you want to assign. And once one stake is assigned, then that stake is connected to that domain and can't be used for any other domains. So you'll want to have one stake specifically for each domain. And that was why Jeremy's comment was about not using like a huge stake for a domain, because then you won't be able to unstake that without losing that domain.
I got it.
You want to have like a specific stake for a domain.
Yeah.
And by the way, because stakes are technically NFTs, it makes the domains transferable as well. We don't really have the UI for that at the moment, but it is something that is technically possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a whole nother thing, is being able to transfer the domains and have a secondary market, which will come later.
It's something we talk about pretty much every week.
Yeah, but we're just trying to focus on a couple things right now and not get ahead of ourselves with all the ideas and new features that we could implement here. But like, the opportunities are endless. I mean, there's so many things that can become out of this, which is just like super, super exciting.
And
yeah,
for
it's a
third
great
parties,
point.
for third parties that want to monetize these domains, is that happening through the Packet network, or is that just are they running an independent website to however they want and monetizing it however in the same way they would monetize a normal website?
I think that for now it's going to be you build it yourself, but we may see in the future like a kind of a on-ramp for monetization of a domain where you just point it at a particular server and it puts something on there that for you.
Okay, and so would you need to point? Would you? How would a third party that's not affiliated, just like a customer of a company that took a domain, how would they direct someone to this domain?
You mean okay? So
what's the URL that a third party customer of someone using our network would use to reach that website?
So you have to pick a top level domain that you'd like to tell people. So for example, cjd.pkt.wiki. I can say that .wiki is the top level domain that I prefer people to go to. Jeremy, actually, if you go to cjd.packet.wiki, I think that will illustrate it for people. It's not a very pretty website, but it does explain the concept.
What is it? CJD what?
.pkt.wiki or .anything. Yeah, see, so this is my little cjd.packet site, and that's a list of links of all the top level domains that will go to the same site. So the thing that you'll probably want to do in practice is just pick one of those that's going to be your primary, and then just have all the other ones be redirects to that primary. And then the primary one is the one that you're mostly going to communicate to people. But if anything happens to the primary, you have 56 secondaries.
So is this a competitor to the other decentralized? I'm forgetting the name of
Unstoppable, handshake, file. Namecoin. I would say yes, but what we have that they don't have is that all this stuff works over the regular internet. Jeremy didn't install any special software. He's not using a special browser. There's no extension in order to be able to view that website. This is all regular internet stuff that anybody can go to the CJD website, having been registered with Packet.
Yeah, I think so. To clarify one thing, Jared, why don't you go to packetnode.network / domains. So just to clarify, so you'll come into the dashboard and you'll pick your name, right? Which is, let's say it's jesse.pkt. You're going to pick that up. So that the part that's Jesse is essentially functioning as a subdomain or a third level domain. And then the pk.pkt, that's a second level domain. And then the top level domain, here's a list of over 55, I think it's 57 different top level domains. And in essence, you can pick any one of these as your as the domain. So go to
Registrars?
active domains. There it is, active domains. So there's 58 active domains that are top level domains. So it would be jesse.pkt.lightning or .bar or .pix or .yacht, .wiki. And there's some cool ones in here. There's .live, .studio, .foundation. So there's .place. There's quite a bit. It'll obviously be great to get some of the, there will be a little bit of work to get some of the, more well-known top level domains to come in and stake. But in due course, we would love to see those, the .orgs and the .coms and the .xyz. I mean, hopefully those are all things that can happen. And but in the meantime, you can pick any of these top level domains. And so in essence, your domain that you would promote on your business card would be, jesse.pkt. whatever I wanted to choose out of these 58 active domains. So it could be jesse.pkt.live, and that's my website. Now, interestingly, and I didn't quite understand what Josh was saying, why Canva was only letting him pick one active domain, but there is a way to set it up so that every one of these active domains would allow a person to get to the website itself. So that is possible, and that was the thing that on Caleb's page, cjd.pkt.wiki, you could also reach that same page by cjd.pkt.live or any of these 58 domains here will get you to Caleb's website. So as Josh was saying, and this becomes quite interesting, you could have numerous top level domains, promoting the same website, based on who you're communicating with. If Josh wanted josh.pkt.studio to be who he promotes his, movie endeavors to, and then maybe on his personal basis, it's josh.pkt.my, he could choose that. So there is some versatility, and maybe it's a little bit different than the way people have utilized domains in the past, where you're oftentimes just wanting to get the .com. But, .com is just a hell of a good marketing campaign by VeriSign to get everyone to pay VeriSign, a very successful public company, for the rest of your life. So, there is something compelling about kind of veering down a side path that enables you to have domains for free for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's next level.
And it's the company I was thinking about before was Unstoppable Domains.
Right.
I have a bunch of URLs registered on Unstoppable.
Yeah, you can't actually access a website on Unstoppable Domains. That's just for your Ethereum address, so that someone can send you money using that. And there's actually a compelling partnership to be done between Unstoppable and Packet Network, because being able to pair those things together would be quite interesting. But Unstoppable Domains is just another way for you not to have to type in a bunch of alphanumeric wallet addresses. It's not actually able to access a website anywhere in the world.
Hang on a second. If I'm not mistaken, isn't it possible to put a website behind it Unstoppable? But
I think
I
just need the software.
Had a very hard time finding an actual list of websites that are on Unstoppable. I've been looking, and I couldn't find a list anywhere. I found a list for Namecoin websites .bit, but I didn't find a list for Unstoppable. Have you put websites on any of the domains that you registered on Unstoppable?
I haven't yet, but it's my understanding that you can.
Okay, yeah, that was my understanding as well, but I haven't found a list anywhere. And my concern is that maybe there aren't that many people doing it. I mean, we could make a forwarder to Unstoppable, to, you know, like .unstoppable.pkt, and then those websites would just show up as fourth level instead of top level.
So just to clarify, so Unstoppable Domains requires you to download their browser extension on Chrome and Firefox to start viewing Unstoppable Domains. So it's, you know, and it's very similar to Handshake, where you can't access. Now, it's not to say that that's like a very high bar to get somebody to download a browser extension, but it's a high enough bar that if somebody tries to go to an Unstoppable domain from a traditional web browser, they're not going to get there unless they have the browser extension installed. So with this technology, you don't need a browser extension to be installed. You just type in the URL, and because of the innovative strategy of having, you know, dozens and dozens of top level domains included, and using this third level domain naming system, we both have the versatility or the resilience that, you know, comes from that, as well as the global accessibility without requiring someone to download additional software. So
well, wouldn't we need some kind of browser extension also so, you know, inside of Brave or Chrome in order to have, you know, the Unstoppable automatically show up as part of the Packet network?
So here's where it gets interesting, is that what could be possible is, and Jeremy just picked up .eth. So you could, yeah, Caleb, describe how that would work. So, because it would be like, if you had james.eth, then you could essentially take james.eth. What would it be? James.eth.
James.eth.pkt. Whatever would then resolve to your website. Whether you like it or not, you know, I mean, all the people who registered .eth names, if they pointed them at websites, then we can just automatically make all of that accessible as one level down from packet.pkt.
Yeah.
So
it'd basically be james.eth.pkt.live. And that would get you to a website without needing to download a browser extension. So the question that someone might say is, well, that's a lot of things to type in, but it's free and it gets you to your website, right? And you don't need to download software. So I think there is a really interesting potential partnership here for Handshake, for Unstoppable Domains, to utilize the Packet DNS system to enable their users to get to their websites without having to use a browser extension. It's pretty compelling. Also, with Unstoppable Domains, you know, they're quite expensive, and then you have to pay for them every year in perpetuity. So that's another factor here, you know, that you just have to take into consideration, is that, you know, these are operating as, you know, businesses, and not far different from the way traditional registration works, domain registration and traditional DNS works, where you just have to pay for it forever, right? And I cringe every time I get, you know, and I get hit with, I have so many domains that I own, you know, every single month I get a notice from one of the registrars, hey, your renewal is coming up, you know, we're going to take $23 plus another whatever for, you know, the ICANN privacy. And with Packet domains, that privacy is automatically built in. So that's another factor where you don't have to pay an extra $20 a month for your privacy. It's included, or $20 a year, I should say, for your privacy.
Yeah, that's next level.
I don't understand why any blockchain domain project. Well, no, I can understand why a project would charge equivalent money to public, easily accessible domains. I can't understand why people buy them. I've been in this kind of DNS space for trying to solve DNS since basically 2011, since before Namecoin, actually. And it always seemed to me that if you ask people to pay more than it costs to register like a .com, they're just going to register a .com because everybody can just use it, and there's no problems with that. So it better either be cheaper or more robust or both if there's going to be any challenge to regular people using it. It's taken me over 10 years to think of this idea. It seems obvious in retrospect, of just staking in a whole bunch of domains of .pkt whatever, and then using those and stacking the thing underneath that. But it's taken until now, but I don't think any of the other projects have thought of this. I think that in the next week or so, they're all going to be start doing this because it's so obvious once you realize. But at least we can say we were first. And I think we also have a very compelling story with how we're going to be onboarding webmasters and making it easy for people to build websites that are reachable from multiple different domains. So like Canva, the problem with Canva right now is that they just expect there to be one domain. And when your browser sends a thing that says josh.pkt.wiki or something, they're confused because he told them that the domain was josh.pkt.my, and their software becomes confused. So that's something we're going to need to address and make it so that it's easy to host on this. But I think that that's a relatively small problem compared to the really big problem that has blocked the expansion of blockchain domain systems from 2011 when Namecoin came out until now, which has been that everybody has to install software. So therefore, you might as well just buy your domain from Namecheap. And I mean, even in the CJDNS days, in the heyday, we were buying our domains from Namecheap and pointing them at CJDNS IP addresses because we just couldn't find anything else that made more sense. And now I think we have something that actually makes more sense. So this is pretty exciting.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's exciting to be able to, it's also exciting to be able to bring other platforms into this ecosystem. And that's what's gotten me so excited, is the ability to build bridges between companies, projects, ecosystems, categories. And what we've been building with the hub is just being able to create this place for discovery and be able to invite in all these different platforms. And to what James was talking about earlier, making it where it doesn't matter if you know anything about DNS or blockchain or technology, like this becomes an ecosystem that is welcoming and easy to use. Registering a domain is incredibly simple, regardless of your technological know-how, and being able to just put some packet. I think the most complex thing is figuring out how to start a wallet, but the Coinbase wallet has made it extremely simple. You can swap ETH for packet and then be able to just connect that to your dashboard and stake and earn it and create a domain. So that's really cool and really easy to use. And I think we're gonna get that mass adoption and easy usability of this technology very quickly.
Yeah, no, it's great. Super exciting. And only upward from here.
On a slightly different note, there's another announcement today, which is that CJDNS release has happened, release 22.1. So I think the biggest deal about this is that CJDNS always required you to manually put in your peers, manually set who you're going to connect your node to. Now that all happens automatically. Thank you to the packet stakers who are running CJDNS nodes. You are now the entry point to the network for everybody who just launches CJDNS without entering any peers. So that's using DNS seeding. So that's super exciting. And anybody who has a Mac with Homebrew installed can just type brew install CJDNS, and it will install. You're still going to have to go through the conf file and do a little bit of terminal, but a UI for this is something that we have planned in the near-ish future. So hang tight. But if you are already fairly comfortable with CJDNS and you use a Mac, good news, installing it, you don't have to compile anything, just brew, install CJDNS, you're done, and just run it. So that's pretty cool. And that also came out today, just by happenstance. The two events, the two big releases happened on the same day.
That's very, very cool. Yeah. So this is kind of the new era of Packet. And I think there's one other thing that kind of gets glazed over just a little bit when we talk about competition in this space, is that, you know, the infrastructure part of what is happening right now on the Packet network is fundamental to this accomplishment. So, for example, these 58 domains, these domains are owned by the community, owned, operated, managed by the community. But the community's not just going to come and bring domains over to the Packet network out of the kindness of their heart. I mean, this is a lot of money was spent to secure these domains. I mean, every single one of them, someone's going to be maintaining that, you know, renewal fee and cost for in perpetuity, right? So what is going to motivate someone to do something like that, to maintain 58 domains? They range in cost from a few bucks to, you know, dozens of dollars per domain. It's quite a bit of money that has to get spent to maintain that. So what's happening is that people are actually staking their PKT against those domains and being paid by the network, essentially remunerated by the network to maintain that, and that becomes extremely valuable. So there's a lot of you know, true decentralized physical infrastructure happening here for the, you know, actual provisioning of these domains, the existence of this project being powered, you know, community powered. So I find that to be extremely exciting. The second piece of this is that in addition to domains, the actual network itself is community powered. And sometimes this kind of doesn't, you know, and again, it can get a little bit techie, but in order for there to be a network, you know, it's all computers connected to one another. So for computers to be connected to one another, somebody has to maintain those computers. And for those computers to be robust, you know, they're going to need some significant infrastructure behind them, meaning internet connections, you know, probably a data center, you know, server rental costs, etc., which are actual costs. And so if you're building a network, and that's why internet service providers charge so much for the internet, because they have significant overhead costs. So by decentralizing the overhead costs out to the community, and the community are able to create CJDNS nodes, which essentially creates the, you know, routing infrastructure for this network, you basically have a completely community operated network. And so that was the goal. That was the goal in moving over to Base, to simplify the wallet experience, to simplify the rewards, and most importantly, to align the incentives so that the community is specifically being incentivized to run the network and to bring domains into the network. And that has been accomplished. So my hat's off to Caleb, as, you know, lead dev of this project, visionary of the project, obviously creator of CJDNS, for bringing all those pieces together to what we have today. Is really just the starting point for what is now going to be possible with the network itself and the way that people are going to use it. I mean, obviously, we have no idea what's to come, because it will be completely done by the community's will and based on the community's interests for their own economic endeavors and entrepreneurship. And we'll just have to see how these tools get put into the real world.
Yeah. So go for it.
When the CJDNS UI comes out and more people start adopting CJDNS, the app, and running it on their computer for VPN and for accessing the network, that's the point where the people who have staked in CJDNS nodes, that's where that piece of infrastructure is going to become more relevant to the story. That's when you're going to see why we have that. So a lot of people said, well, why are we doing this? What's the point in this infrastructure that we're staking Packet, and what's the point? We're just yielding. But now the domains are actually doing something. So now you can see why. And I think that once the CJDNS app is something that you can hold in your hand, then you're going to see the why on the CJDNS nodes, which, how many of them are there? It's like
it's over 100. There were 130 last time I checked. There's probably more now.
Okay.
No.
It's
more now.
a healthy number right now, and these are all public entrances to the network. So this is awesome that we have such a robust network, that somebody spins up a CJDNS node. They have lots of connections that they can use to connect into the network, and then in the future, very soon, you're going to be able to exit the network using VPNs, which is another piece of infrastructure that's going to be yielding.
Right. So VPN is the next frontier for this, for sure. There's two other frontiers that are, again, rubber meets the road for this network that I'm passionate about. The first one being the Packet Hub. And the Packet Hub is really a collective or kind of the visual representation or physical representation of the ecosystem, because we're going to have people getting domains, then people are going to be building websites, whether it be your personal blog or e-commerce site or whatever people do with their websites, they will be able to do. But the hub is going to be specifically geared towards the types of projects, specifically media-based projects, but it also expands out into gaming, music, technology, and it's really meant to be a place for discovery. And so we've been talking internally about how to make it. I mean, it is a decentralized platform, but in the beginning, it's going to have some guardrails to it. Especially in the early stages of growth and gaining adoption. But the goal is obviously to get people to bring their projects onto the hub and create an ecosystem and a cross section for all these different projects to be discoverable. Instead of needing to get on, and there's obviously a compelling reason to end up on an Apple TV or a Roku or Google Play Store, or iTunes. The downside of being on those platforms is that you're on there with thousands, tens of thousands of other projects. So it's incredibly difficult to be discovered in those places. It doesn't mean that it's bad to be there, but it's hard to gain traction when you're competing with so many major incumbent projects and favorite projects by these networks and platforms. So the Packet Hub is really meant to provide a new platform for people to be discovered and to create actual community around these various different platforms that want attention, that want audience. So there will be a lot more information to come on the hub. There's a big launch that will happen in the next 2 weeks for the new visual representation of hub.pkt.cash, and so we'll have some more information coming soon on that front. And then the second piece that's further down the road is going to be somewhere in between the VPN work that Caleb's doing and what I've been passionate about. It's kind of like an off section of what the hub is, but is search. And search is really going to become more and more important for the Packet network as thousands of domains begin to be registered and lots of websites are created. It's like, how are people going to know that these websites exist? And so there will be an opportunity. It could be a community member. It might just be, our team figuring out how to create search. Like who's going to be the next Netscape, Yahoo, Google of the Packet network, and really help, create a way for people to discover and search for what's on this network. So it's like feels like the beginning of the internet here. It's almost like if you weren't cognizant of the opportunities of the internet back in the late 90s and early 2000s, with this decentralized sovereign network, all those tools, all that technology can be, reimagined, reissued. New entrepreneurs can take ownership of those initiatives. And so there's a tremendous amount of opportunity here at this time for people to, get after it. And I think search, Caleb and I have been discussing this, may just begin as a wiki. There's only 150 or 200 sites to begin with. Maybe you're just scrolling through them alphabetically and there's a little bit of metadata there. But ultimately, I think there will be a world where search is going to become more and more compelling. And also with the value of SEM for Google, I think there's also something compelling to give people the opportunity to prioritize their website by staking. Maybe you stake more packet and that ranks your website higher from an SEM standpoint, if you will. So I think there's some really exciting ways for the ecosystem to grow and for the utility of packet to expand and for people to make this network as versatile as it is, their own in helping amplify their own initiatives, efforts, entrepreneurship, etc.
So take action, go claim your domains today, and play around with it. It's really easy to do. And if you have any questions, jump into the community. There is one question that somebody had real quick before we jump off. It says, will CJDNS always pay more than domain staking? My assumption is yes, because it's more valuable to the network, and there's going to be more people that are running CJDNS node. This is really the interesting thing about staking is you get to see which ones pay more. Though yes, there's more being paid to CJDNS nodes. As more CJDNS nodes come on the network, the price of that will go down. And since there's a finite number of domains, that price could potentially go up. So you want to always be checking who is doing what and what is the most robust side of it. Because once VPN comes out, then maybe VPN becomes more valuable because there's less people running VPN nodes. And so this makes it so that you as a community member can be agile. And if you're always looking for how you can make the most money, then you're going to have to take the most actions to be able to capture that value. So
that's a great point. Yeah, because I had the same experience, So if you've been participating, if you've been awake and not asleep for the last 3.5 months, then you would have jumped in with your packet on base and you would have staked it, and there was no infrastructure requirement to gain your rewards, and that was real nice. I'm sure people love that. Then on Infrastructure Day, October 30th, or I think there was a week grace period, so first week of November. If you were right there on day one with your CJDNS node, you were just ripping rewards down. It was obviously the rewards were very, very compelling. And if you staked a domain right out of the gate, you would have been, seeing tremendous rewards coming down off of those domains. I saw that as well. But now that there's 58 domains being staked, and also being that a lot of people were a little bit lazy because there's no limit to how much you can stake to a domain. Maybe you had 10 million packet and you staked it all onto a domain. So you just have to run one infrastructure node. And a lot of people presumably did that because the domain rewards went down really, really deep. And then you look at the dashboard, you can see that CJDNS nodes are paying really, really well. So go get yourself a CJDNS node. Now, if you're setting up CJDNS nodes, you know that you need one CJDNS node can only hold $5,000 worth of yield credits. So let's say you have 10 million packet, you're staking for a year, that's 4x. Now you have 40 million yield credits. So you would need 8 CJDNS nodes to control, for all of your yield credits. Now you have to run 8 nodes. And if you do that, if you had all that yield credit on one domain, then your yields were such. And then if you were to then parse that out into 8 CJDNS nodes, your yields are going to be a lot higher. And it's pretty remarkable. So now people are probably moving out some of their yield credits off of domains, and you can reposition them at will over to CJDNS nodes. And so to answer your question, like, will CJDNS always pay out more? what I can say for sure is that CJDNS nodes will always have a higher percentage. But to Josh's point, it's also the lowest barrier to entry. It's the easiest thing to do. And so at the time in the future, when there's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or more people running CGDNS nodes, maybe the CGDNS yields are lower than running a domain. So you just don't know how this is going to play out. What the game theory is, how it's going to play out in the future. But it is interesting, and I went through the same experience like I just described, where you can start moving your yield credits around to the things that are more profitable to do. When VPN comes out, VPN is probably going to be the most profitable to do right at the gate because not a lot of people will be doing it. And same thing with name servers, and same thing with route servers. So there will always be an incentive to allocate your yield credits out to different types of infrastructure. If you want to make the most money, you're going to be as versatile as an infrastructure provider can be. So that's where DPIN succeeds, right? Is it's creating an economic incentive for people to take physical action, cover those costs out of their own pocket, and being remunerated back by the network. So we're already seeing that play out, that game theory play out in success here with this, immediate growth that's been happening. It's remarkable growth happening for this network. And now with this utility, there's actually something for you to do with the packet that you're earning every single day. And hopefully see thousands of domains, getting registered for the next few months here.
Indeed. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. And it's been a pleasure being on the call with you. Thank you, James Haff, for joining us and all your support over the years. Really appreciate the conversation and your input.
Great. My pleasure.
Ready to go get it.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you. Any final thoughts on your end, Caleb?
Get a domain.
Yeah, get a domain and try out CJDNS. It's easier than ever. It's really easier than ever. You have to use the terminal, but it's as easy as it's ever been.
Yeah, indeed. I just pushed an update on the docs, making with the instructions to set up CJDNS nodes and some other updates. So give a gander to the docs. Also on domains, going through how to set up domains. So there's some new information that should be pushed over to docs. And then we'll also be pushing some updates to the website over the coming, week to help, illuminate this new tech that's happening here. I'll also post an update about what's been going on with the Network Steward Marketing Initiative. Some really, really cool stuff that's happening there. If you're over in Telegram, you've probably been seeing the activity there, the community growth that's happening. So thrilled to see that in action. And there's some phenomenal partnerships that we're getting ready to announce in the coming period. So this is a great time to be a packeteer. And, we want to see that reflected both in the community growth and also in the price growth. So those will all be parts of us succeeding and getting more adoption to this. And excited for all the people here on the ground floor. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks everybody. And we'll catch you guys next week.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Cheers.
See you later.